You're listening to the Today in Manufacturing podcast.
Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast from an all-new location. Construction's fun. With me today are Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells. We each have about 15 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Every week, we cover the 5 most popular stories on our websites and discuss the implications they might have on the industry going forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also help us out a lot by giving us a positive review. Anna, how you doing this week?
Good. It's weird being at the same table as you guys. I feel like normally when I would make a bad joke, I have like an office door in front of me, and now I have to actually face you.
Right. It's also weird being in close proximity without a mask.
I know.
It's like we're breaking some sort of rule.
I know. It's going to take a while to get used to this, but...
Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Not through a door. Jeff, how you doing this week?
Good. Yeah, you know, the same thing, like just little things, getting together, playing softball, stuff like that. Like there's this bubble you're used to having, and letting people inside that is, it takes a little getting used to. So, but this is cool. Glad we could finally do it this way.
Yeah, it's like, hey, human contact.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It is nice.
How to de-awkward. I don't know how to do that.
Well, I mean, I was awkward going in.
That's true. That didn't change, I'm sure.
No.
All right, our first story this week. Shuttered Remington gun plant reopens. Gunmaker Remington filed for bankruptcy in July 2020 after 200 years of business. The company's assets were auctioned off to 7 different bidders. Round Hill Group bought a part of the business for $13 million. The deal included Remington's factory in Ilion, New York, which was closed in October after 585 furloughed workers were abruptly terminated and without severance pay. Round Hill recently called 230 workers back to the factory and hopes to bring back hundreds more workers as production ramps up. Anna, it's a good story. I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bumpy ride. If you've been following the story of the Ilion plant, like, you know, as you mentioned, these workers have kind of been through a lot. Mm-hmm. So Remington filed for bankruptcy twice since 2018. And, you know, furloughed a bunch of workers in the fall and then let them go. So anyway, this spring, workers were set to return, and then they were notified like the day before that it wasn't happening. And this was Round Hill had taken over at this point. So they were told not to come. And I read a report that said that some didn't get the message and they were actually turned away at the door. Oh. Which is brutal, right? Yeah. But so in March, the union described its talks with Round Hill Group as sporadic. Mm-hmm. And anyone who's purchased any assets out of bankruptcy, I think, knows that the transfer process can be a massive hassle. But you'd think that Round Hill would be motivated because gun sales are crazy high right now, and they want to take advantage of that, right? But I guess I just think that they're probably lucky that these workers stuck around. And I wonder if it's because Ilion was actually the town where Remington was founded in the early 1800s. So some of these workers could be like multi-generational sort of legacy Remington workforce that maybe they were really holding out hope, whereas somebody from a different industry or company might not have waited so long. But it sounds like they're bringing a few hundred back. They hope to do more in the future. So we'll see.
Yeah. Jeff, it sounds like a town full of patient people, very patient people.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I mean, Remington, obviously the oldest gun maker in the U.S. And like 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago, this company was doing $900 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a great article on the New York Times website that talks about the history of this company over like the last 15 years or so. Private equity came in. They tried opening some different plants down south because the one in New York was so union heavy. There's such a dominant union presence there. So they tried doing some different things, and we just talked about some of the other factors that have played a role in its recent history. But what was interesting to me too is Round Hill only bought the rifle and gun portion of the business.
Right.
Remington also has an ammunition part of it, which is where I know them from. That's typically the brand that I go to for my shotgun and my .22. So it was interesting that was not part of it. And the ammunition part of the business was actually sold for like 6 times more than the rifle and gun side of it.
That makes sense.
So you want to be optimistic. It is awesome. You see these hundreds of people back to work in this iconic town for this American brand that's just been around forever and everybody knows. So you hope that a lot of these, I guess I don't know if I want to say we're buying more guns, but hopefully the business remains strong so that this plant can get up and running again.
Well, I believe when it went under, it was pre-pandemic. And that was when the run on ammo was still huge. And so I understand like the 3 times markup or whatever you said. That makes sense. But, luckily, as a result of a global crisis, everyone's afraid and buying guns now too. So more people going back to work. One thing I liked was that
nice.
One thing I liked was that it was a rare example of them constantly telling the town we're coming back and actually coming back. It reminds, but sort of one of the things I was thinking about was Lordstown that we were talking about last week. Just sort of pump the brakes a little bit. The saviors are in town, they're bringing back jobs, but it can be bumpy for, I guess, I don't know a lot about Round Hill's history. I believe that they are known in the industry, or that they have experience in the industry.
That I don't know.
But we've seen how, you can come back to town and it can still be really bumpy along the way.
Yeah, you almost wonder if could you have just not sent out the press release or the memo or whatever until you were really, really sure that this was going to work.
Yeah, do the soft launch with the 280 guys and then issue the press release no, actually, we've been doing this for 3 months. It's gonna pan out.
I do kind of wonder, though, if there wasn't, I wonder what the negotiations were with the union, because there is a strong union preference there. I forget which one they're actually tied to, but it does have a history. They're not just with this facility, but just the area in general.
Yeah, it's Mine Workers Union, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And just to note that they're going to start with the first production line is going to be the Model 870 shotgun. Is that something you're familiar with?
I don't own a Remington shotgun, so not
okay.
Really,
Just curious. Yeah. Our next fourth most popular story this week: a Tesla driver was arrested for riding in the back seat. Kids. A 25-year-old man, not so much a kid, was arrested after riding in the backseat of a Tesla traveling on a San Francisco Bay Area freeway. It's important to note that this guy riding in the back was the driver. He was arrested for reckless driving and disobeying a peace officer after multiple 911 calls came in, and an officer on a motorcycle saw him doing it as well. So, again, really red-handed. He was riding in the back seat. He said, riding in the back seat isn't dangerous, and he will continue to do it. A few Tesla owners are currently testing the car's self-driving system, but it's not clear whether or not this guy was one of them. Anna, people just don't learn.
Yeah. This just made my blood boil. Not just the act alone, but also how he just sort of brashly has taunted police and the general public, because it's such a disregard for everyone's safety around him and just ridiculous. But I thought it was interesting because I know it's not clear if he was using autopilot. I think he probably was. I don't see how you could keep your vehicle on the road without that, right? As we've spoken about in the past, autopilot is a level 2 autonomous system. It goes up to 5. 5 is the complete hands-free. You don't even need a driver in there. The car does everything.
Right.
Elon Musk said at the beginning of this year that Tesla would be at level 5 by the end of 2021, which was pretty bullish prediction on that. But I saw a story on Engadget last week where they cited a discussion between Tesla employees and the California DMV, where Tesla actually admitted that essentially Elon Musk has exaggerated these capabilities of the self-driving program. And they're saying that they're not nearly as close to reaching that level 5 from an engineering perspective that, as Elon Musk has indicated. So, I mean, they're not saying anything about autopilot really as it stands, but I think we know that people trust this system more than they should. And maybe it doesn't help that Tesla is suggesting that they're basically on the cusp of level 5 because it sounds like they're not. And I just wonder if people think there's some sort of I'm just a software upgrade away from this being more functional than it is. And they just have the complete wrong impression about what that system's capable of.
I will say, at least in their defense, that we see that happening on a much smaller scale all the time, particularly in design engineering, where it's what did he say? No, it's not going to do that. It's not going to do that. Just over, it's typical blowhard marketing speak. And then. Yeah,
but if you're a publicly traded company, I mean, he wouldn't want to get in trouble with the SEC, would he?
That's part of the problem. There's such hubris right now around this. And with Musk, I mean, if we weren't worried about our podcast rating, I think we'd all really graphically describe what we think of this guy driving in the backseat. Oh, yeah. I mean, what is this? And it's not like he was on a county highway. He was on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What is this? And for him to be gloating, he should be charged with a lot more than what he was. Okay. I mean, this is ridiculous. And again, and we've hammered on this topic before about when is Musk going to sort of, raise a white flag a little bit and appreciate the attitude he's creating. And even if he's not legally doing something wrong, there's a responsibility you have when he has put himself up as a public figure. He's put himself out as a champion of electric vehicles and autonomous technology. Well, now you have to take some responsibility for it, because thankfully this idiot didn't hurt somebody else where he could have. There's clearly, as Anna alluded to, something wrong with the technology where you're supposed to be able to have your hands close to the wheel or on the wheel in order for this autopilot to be kicking in. Other manufacturers have messed with this. Cadillac's got their Super Cruise, which is a hands-free driving, but it's only allowed on certain roads. And one of them is certainly not a freeway between San Francisco and Oakland. Okay. So there's just a number of things that continue to pop up here. And Tesla does have a responsibility to start taking charge of this and doing it the right way. Because eventually this is going to be worse than just the driver of these vehicles getting hurt.
Yeah. No, that was my first takeaway too, was that I'm not worried about these drivers killing themselves. I'm worried about them killing other people. And how he was seemingly posing for photo ops along the way is what really kind of angered me about it, is that there were just so many tweets posted on social media of people who caught this kid. And you're right. I just don't know that. What was he charged with? Reckless driving?
Yeah, basically a couple of traffic citations.
That's not enough.
No, and the other thing is you talk about Musk's responsibility, but getting into sort of like toothless regulation, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has investigated 28 Tesla crashes and hasn't taken any regulatory action. And the NTSB has recommended that the NHTSA and Tesla limit the types of roads, like you said, where autopilot can operate, and that Tesla install a tougher driver monitoring system. So it's just a lot of recommendations and not really using their capabilities to, put a stop to this. I mean, how many times can they ask the company to be a good corporate citizen?
Well, and that's the thing. I personally don't want the government to have to get involved in Tesla's business. And a lot of these accidents, they were owners being irresponsible, not necessarily Tesla's fault. But eventually, when you see this behavior continuing and people just can't get it right, or like you like to say, we can't have nice things. You do have a responsibility as a company, because if you don't, then you are begging for some sort of government oversight. Well, and we don't want that. We don't want the government in our business.
Well, at some point, couldn't there be a parallel drawn to seatbelts? When, probably cars had them all the time, but nobody was wearing them. It was just like, you know what? Every car needs one. Everyone's got to wear one. Done. Maybe because it wasn't such a high tech, maybe it was high tech at the time. I don't remember. I don't recall.
You don't remember when seatbelts were invented?
No.
I can actually remember when it was somewhat, I don't know if contentious was the right term, but like here in Wisconsin when they were passing those laws. There was, believe it or not, there was debate. Whether or not you should have to wear your seatbelt. And it seems kind of silly now, but all the personal freedoms and choices and all that was definitely part of it. But this just bothers me because we want all of this innovation coming to the forefront. We want to push this forward, but sometimes you do, pardon the pun, have to pump the brake a little bit on it.
Yeah.
You guys remember how hot those lap belts were?
Oh, yeah.
In the summer.
And how heavy they were. Like the metal clasp that, could fit a giant. I also remember because we would strap like the three of us in with the one lap belt. Just sure it was safe. No, we don't each need one. Bring her over. All right. In the back seat of a station wagon looking the other way.
Oh, man.
How kids should grow up. You'd have to clear the oil from the back window so you could see out. But other than that, it was healthy.
I know. And now I'm like, my husband will put the kids in their car seats. And I'm like, the chest clip is like a 1/4 inch too high. I'm going to just...
They say I'm not supposed to be able to pinch it.
Yeah.
So just, sorry, as you're screaming. The third most popular story this week is more Tesla bashing, but again, rightfully deserved. Tesla's been sued over breach of contract. A Pennsylvania couple is taking Tesla's solar roof to court. The company agreed to pay $46,000 for a solar roof. 6 months later, they received a notice saying the price jumped more than $30,000. There are more than 100 other potential plaintiffs who are dealing with similar price hikes, some with hikes as high as 70% above the agreed upon price. The price increases stem from improper solar roof installer assessments. Jeff, I know this was your story this week. That seems like quite the hike.
Yeah. I mean, we've had shared good and bad stories about contractors and work done on our houses and stuff. And you anticipate some of that. We had a remodel for our bathrooms, and we knew there's no way this is going to come in right on target, right? So you're prepared for some of that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, these were just crazy. And a lot of times it was like 6 months later, I think this one in particular that you called out. And there are a number of obviously individuals who had the same had the same experience. There was enough that now it actually, as of yesterday, it has become a class action suit. Mm-hmm. So they will be able to kind of bind together and go after them. And what's interesting is usually in these situations, it's a group of consumers coming together saying, hey, I was swindled out of money. I want reimbursement. I want to get back what I lost. Here they're saying, just honor the contract. They want this solar roof. They want Tesla to come and do this. These folks are really dedicated to not just having this improvement done to their home, but everything it represents in terms of getting, sourcing using solar energy, less reliance on the grid, all that kind of stuff. So you're rooting for them kind of in a different way because you just want Tesla to do what they said they were going to do. And I can also appreciate the fact that coming out and getting an estimate and then getting in there, I mean, they need to improve that process, obviously.
Yeah, significantly.
I mean, and try to work with these folks, I would think. And the lump sum is not that crazy high either that Tesla is dealing with these 100-some people that have come together for Tesla.
Right.
When you're looking at a guy who owns the company being worth a couple billion, for them to come together, what they're looking for isn't crazy. You think they could fix this because there has been a lot of success with Solar Roof.
Well, and it's not just that they have to pay more. Like these people refinance their homes to hit that number, and then they come back and they're like, actually, it's double. So Tesla, like you said, they were hit with the second lawsuit, the class action lawsuit, on Thursday. The plaintiff signed a contract on March 20th of 2021 for $71,000. On April 10th, Tesla sent him an email saying, actually, it's going to be $146,000 and change, about $146,500. So, but they did offer the guy a free Powerwall storage battery if they went ahead with the project. So, okay, it's going to be $76,000 more, but free $5,000.
And if they were offering them, you're assuming they're already a Tesla customer, right? They have a Tesla vehicle. So
maybe not. I don't know. I agree with your assessment that you're kind of rooting for these people because the Tesla so the ROI on solar already is pretty long, and the Tesla roof tiles are this new style. It's less bulky, it's less in your face. It comes at a price premium. So we're doing a solar install now this summer and the payback on ours is something like 10 or 12 years. And that includes government rebates. So it's a while, but this is way more expensive than what we're doing. And I feel like you said, Jeff, these people are doing it not for the ROI because that's forever. They're doing it out of a ideological sense of responsibility, maybe. I feel like Tesla is certainly taking advantage of these people, whether they intend to or not. But I don't know. It's just bad PR. I mean, we noted on a previous podcast that Tesla or Elon Musk have shut down their PR and communications department, maybe because he just can't be bothered to respond to this stuff anymore. He'd rather just blast off on Twitter and walk away. Yeah. This kind of stuff, they already have reservation style programs on their vehicles, asking people to put down money on vehicles that haven't even been produced yet. I think that's sort of a black eye on that strategy. I don't think that looks good.
I also think that, you guys are investigating getting solar panels as well. But to me, that's a largely proven technology that's been used on many homes for a long time. You know exactly what the ROI is. You know what to expect in terms of maintenance and performance with the angle of the sun that you see, stuff like that. Where this is by and large unproven. Brand new technology, really cool. The first time I saw it, I thought it was amazing. The shingles are going to generate power. That is an amazing idea.
Right. It looks awesome. Yeah.
I mean, it's life changing because you don't have the large panels,
But you're right. I mean, people are paying a premium because this technology has not scaled. So there's no price break for them at all. And you're right. It's unproven. I know that there's been some weird stuff that happened with Walmart stores and their roofs when they were using this stuff. It's not like has a blemish-free record so far. So I don't know.
But the other part of this too is they do have over 400,000 installs Okay. So
okay.
they've got a track record here that they can lean on. It just gets back to me is they want this. These folks really, really want this. They refinance their houses. This is a huge capital investment for them. And Tesla is sort of being like, whatever. Yeah. This is what it costs.
Yeah.
400,000 installs.
That's according to their site. Now that's globally. Oh. So,
okay. So I was wrong.
More than I would have guessed, I guess.
Yeah. And it's on really the thing for me is I just enjoy trees. Otherwise, we were looking into solar and it's like maybe on the corner of your garage we could put something.
Oh, and they ask you to cut trees down.
Yeah. And it's just we have a really cool, like hundreds-year-old tree in front of us that I enjoy. I don't know.
Totally, yeah.
But when we get out in the country sometime, that'll never happen. Jeff, would you put solar panels on the house?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
I think you're doing it, like Anna said, the ROI is not going to be real immediate. You're doing it for more altruistic. I mean, I'm not opposed. No.
Yeah. No,
I haven't been like proactive seeking it out because, well, our house isn't really great for it. We would have to do some stuff. So
yeah. No, that's I hear that, or that's what I think a lot when people say it's going to be 20 years for the ROI. It's like, I mean, you're not committed to being here for 20 more years, right? No. Where are we at? Second most popular story this week is a 3-wheeled car factory coming to the U.S. Electromechanica made a tiny single-passenger 3-wheeled electric car called the Solo. This week, the company chose Mesa, Arizona as the location for its U.S. assembly and engineering plant. The Canadian company says the new facility will create up to 500 new jobs and potentially produce 20,000 Solo electric vehicles each year. The Solo has a range of 100 miles, a top speed of 80 miles per hour, and sells for about $18,500. Anna, would you ride in this enclosed spider?
I knew you were going to ask me that right away. 80 miles an hour in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would only drive it if I could sit forward in it.
Pretty much if I was out the window. No, I love these kind of vehicles, but I feel like they're becoming more dangerous as SUVs and trucks kind of proliferate. It would be really hard to get in an accident in that thing, especially at 80 miles an hour.
Right.
But I don't know. My favorite thing about this when researching this story was I came across a review that Motor Trend did on this vehicle at the beginning of the year. Because they've been producing them already, right? It's a Canadian company. Motor Trend calls it a car motorcycle hybrid, which kind of, I guess, makes sense. But they threw so much shade at this thing, saying that that it, you have to use the throttle so heavily that it causes it to pogo up and down. And then my favorite line from the review was this one where they said, quote, "It doesn't appear much thought went into the way the Solo turns or stops."
Stops even. Wow.
Turns or stops.
Man.
Pretty basic stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, one thing that they noted was that Electromechanica said that the vehicle complied with NHTSA standards, but they wouldn't share any of their internal crash test data publicly. And I thought that was interesting because we did a story on Candy, which is basically the Chinese version of this earlier this year. And that's a tiny, cheap EV with a minimal range, again, zipping around town. And Candy did the same thing. So they suggested it was compliant, but they wouldn't share any of the data on the crash tests. So I don't know. I mean, I always get teased as being the risk-averse one on this panel. But would you guys get in this thing?
I feel like, personally, for me, this was... When we first started covering these types of stories, 12 to 15 years ago, I was really excited because I was single and I rode my bike everywhere. And so this looked like something that could be cool in the winter or, when I was a single passenger, I thought it was awesome. And now I'm thinking maybe if I'm a retired widower or what, it's just.
And also ready to die.
Well, I mean, by then.
Besides, Carrie's going to outlive you. We all know this.
I don't know. Gin, cigarettes. No.
We've got odds going. Trust me.
Right. Man, I thought I was higher in the pool. But no, so I would, but there is no use for me to ever own this in the near or distant future. So
I feel like it sits so low that how they're talking about how lethal the strike zone is now in an SUV, the nose of that vehicle where it hits a pedestrian, for example, it's more deadly now because they're heavier, and that's exactly where you can do a lot of damage to a person.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like they would hit you right in the face with that where you're sitting.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine. Like, I'm not getting in this thing and expecting to survive.
To get out.
Yeah. But I don't know. Technology crash zones have come a long way, even though this one seems tight.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I did catch their tagline: "Safer than a motorcycle, cooler than a car."
I don't know.
That might be a stretch. So I'm 6'3". I've sat in a smart car, and I could handle that. I wouldn't say I was comfortable, but I could fit in there and be okay. This looks tight, especially when they do see the one guy getting out and he just towers above this car.
Yeah.
So I don't know who. If you guys had to guess, who is their ideal customer? Who are they targeting with this? Because, like you said, you can't have anybody with you. It's called a solo for a reason. You've got 100 miles. It can get up to 80, but you do have a somewhat limited range. It's not like you have any cargo space. Who is the ideal candidate?
Right. So if you're running errands, you can't go to the store because you can't put your groceries anywhere?
It does. No, they have a very specific photo where it shows them putting at least one bag of groceries
2 bags of groceries in there.
Just a couple of key items from Trader Joe's. Yeah.
Exactly. No, but that's who I think it is. In terms of the key audiences, single people or not. I don't know.
But because if you're in an urban area, do you have a car to begin with? Are you going to want to? You're limited. If you're going to have a car, it seems like you'd want somebody where you could have somebody with you. You can, do some stuff. You just seem really limited. This almost feels like this is
like an electric scooter.
Yeah, kind of. It's almost like for communities where they have golf carts now. Maybe you want something a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah.
But you can't fit golf clubs in it, so maybe not.
Well, and you'd have to park it. So maybe it is safer than a motorcycle. I don't know, but it doesn't have that advantage of being able to kind of tuck it away. If you're in a city, you have to find a spot for it.
It also seemed very expensive to me at $18,500.
Yeah, that seems like a lot. I would agree.
Maybe if the price was able to come down, I would still not be able to use it for anything but entertain it.
Maybe if one day you have to pick up just like a bag of trail mix on the way home.
Well, see, I was thinking that if I only had to pick up one kid, I could get him in that cargo area, go real slow on the back roads, safe.
Hook up one of those bike.
The bike caddy.
Yeah,
the bike trailer.
See, I was anticipating a wider rear tire too. It doesn't really look like it. It kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. There was at least, there have been other ones that kind of had that same sort of cockpit look to them, but you could get two people in it. Yeah. But those were weird, and we used to joke about them because it's like, all right, pal, just hug me. Yeah. So I did a little bit more research on the company, and the reason that they're setting up shop in Arizona is to avoid the Chinese supplied or cumbersome tariffs by assembling the Chinese supplied knockdown kits for assembly. So basically, knockdown kits, which are typically made overseas and then exported for final assembly here, it seems like they're doing a lot of work to avoid tariffs for a product that I don't know there's a market for. And the one thing that was cool is that you can just charge it on a regular outlet.
That is cool.
Yeah. But then in the fine print, it says, 8 hours on 110 will get you about a 60% charge. But that's not terrible. If I'm just going to Trader Joe's to get my trail mix.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
And your Dr. Boston gin.
Oh, man, it hit a specific point in the palate. It's still there. I can't do it anymore.
Mr. Boston became a doctor?
You're right.
It was yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking, did he go to medical school? It
was Mr. Boston.
I believe that he is a retired medical professional who has taken up a distillery. Our top story this week, aside from my poor choices in life, a crack closes an interstate bridge. A crack was found in the Interstate 40 bridge that links Arkansas and Tennessee during a routine inspection. The crack forced thousands of trucks and cars to detour and shut down shipping on a section of the Mississippi River. Inspectors found a, quote, significant fracture in one of the two 900-foot horizontal steel beams that are crucial to the bridge's integrity. Anna, did you see the photo? I would call that a significant crack.
It was a scary photo. We were literally talking about this last week when we covered the collapse of the rail car in Mexico City. We were talking about infrastructure. And this kind of stuff, is at risk of being anywhere and everywhere. You know, I mean, you use the term significant fracture. They said crucial for the bridge's integrity. Like, that sounds shocking, but consider that in the 2020 infrastructure report card, which is published by the American Society of Civil Engineers, they said that 7.5% of the nation's bridges are considered structurally deficient right now, meaning they're in, quote, poor condition.
Oof.
And that equals out to more than 46,000 bridges. So I wonder if those bridges will be marked or identified some way.
Right.
Or, you know, if they were, maybe we'd be moving forward more quickly on infrastructure instead of viewing it like we are now in sort of this more abstract way.
That's an interesting proposal. Like, you put the grade on the infrastructure, just not necessarily a enter at your own risk, but hey, you don't have to jump the bus, but it might not make it.
Well, yeah, if that's a bridge you take every day, are you going to be so indifferent towards
paying for it?
Yeah. No, like, I mean, if I had to cross, there's a bridge I cross every day to get to the office, and if it had a D- on it, I would find another way here. Or at least send an email saying, hey, just fix this one. No,
you would send us strongly worded emails.
a strongly worded email. Okay, we have enough walking bridges. Please fix the one for cars. Jeff, what was your reaction to the photo?
Did you see the crack? Did you actually see the picture of the crack?
Yeah.
Holy, I mean, that is scary. And now we ran a story today, kind of going back and revisiting, where now they're not even sure if they can get the construction vehicles on the bridge to support the repair.
Yeah, I should have stressed that more. It's in a crack of one of only two of these horizontal structural beams.
Well, and it shuts down everything, right? You've got a roadway, it's a bridge, and it's also a main waterway. There's a lot of actually cargo ships that are going through. They're smaller ones, but still. So what all this comes back to is, first of all, this took me back to a little bit. This is about 10 years ago. Remember up in the Twin Cities? When that bridge collapsed over that main freeway. Scary. And I mean, this could have happened. Thank God these guys caught this.
Yeah.
And it always brings back that conversation about infrastructure improvements. And right now, I think President Biden's looking at a $2.3 trillion investment bill, and they're fighting over basically what should be included, what shouldn't. It should cover, man, just pick some stuff and fix it. Yeah, is basically. So what do you think about this? Okay, because we can never figure out how to pay for all this stuff. Okay, doing some round math here, $2.3 trillion. The average U.S. taxpayer gets back a $3,000 tax return on average. Would you go 5 years without a tax return to cover President Biden's infrastructure investment bill?
How many years?
5.
Yeah. I
would do it.
But I'd be real pissed about it.
Yeah, I think everybody would. I mean, nobody likes that's again, but that's the problem that we continue to confront.
Yeah.
How do we pay for this thing?
I think the problem is also, how do we pay for it? And once we pay for it, where and how is the money getting there? You don't
trust the government, David?
Follow-up question. Are corporations also rescinding their tax refunds? And by refund, I mean
of zero
liabilities.
Yeah. Okay, maybe that's the trade. I will take it. No tax return for 5 years if they pay for 5 years. The corporate tax. No.
Oh man, we're getting into some deep water here.
No. Well, actually, on Friday, you talked about the river traffic being congested, but there was like already 75 ships or something like that were stuck waiting. On Friday, they did reopen the Mississippi River near Memphis, Tennessee, but yeah, the repairs could take forever. Like, this is going to be out of commission for a while. And that sounded harrowing to me that that engineers were trying to figure out if they could go on it. Yeah. Just like, I don't know, guys. You got the light?
It's a main thoroughfare, too. Yeah. I mean, boy, that is scary.
But one encouraging thing was that it was found during a routine inspection. So, I mean, a lot of times people kind of get down on routine inspections, stuff like that. But they do serve a purpose, and they do some good sometimes. So I don't know. It's
well, we didn't talk about it, but because it was covered so many places. But I mean, really, this is the other big infrastructure story from the week. I mean, we had the thing with the hacking of the oil pipeline.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's not physical infrastructure, but still very much a part of our everyday life and something that needs to be improved upon. And where does that come into play as well? When you're looking at a lot of the automation that's been put in place to preserve or to protect a lot of this infrastructure, that's another bill.
Great point. I mean, that's part and parcel now. You can't just ignore that side of it.
Well, that was, what did they say? That was so easy to hack that an 8th grader could do it.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, no, I was like, okay, they know what they're doing with that quote. Also, I think 8th graders right now are advancing me in any sort of computer.
Yeah, I
skill.
was not. I'm trying to remember what I was doing in 8th grade. It wasn't that.
Yeah, hacking an oil pipeline.
I never did that. No.
No, I was still really interested in buying CD singles.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was big into Carmen Sandiego, but I don't think it was leading to anything else.
Did you see she just made it into like the game Hall of Fame?
Did she make it, or was she just nominated?
No, it was like
she
one
made
of
it.
4. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I also didn't know that San Diego was one word.
Come on.
I didn't. No,
What's her last name?
I did. I thought it was.
But
San
you thought
Diego.
Capri-Sun was one word?
I did believe. I still stand. No, that was just.
Don't.
Sometimes you talk too
Yeah,
fast. And it's
you're-
real
yeah.
bad. It is Capri Sun.
What is it?
It is Capri Sun.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
Again, thank you, Patrick, for calling me out on social media. Moving
Please
on
keep
to
doing so.
Yeah.
moving on to, in case you missed it this week, the not so popular stories that still stand to make a big impact. Anna, what was your story this week?
So Spot the robot dog from Boston Dynamics has been terminated from the NYPD, who had been exploring a test program where they hope to use the robot to inspect dangerous and maybe unavailable areas, or ways to help keep officers safe, is what they said. So we've been covering Spot for so long that my initial gut reaction, actually, when I learned that Spot had been fired, was "Aw."
Right.
But then I remembered that Spot's not a real dog,
Yeah.
and
Right.
if it had been a real dog, I would have. Yeah.
By fired, they turned the power off.
Right, yeah. So I don't know. People found the robot to be off-putting, and we know that he's off-putting. He's got a weird, jaunty dog walk that's a little creepy, but they also felt like maybe it was surveillance. I think using it for patrols and things like that clearly wasn't striking well with the public. I just found it to be an interesting story because I think there's very clearly a role for automation in law enforcement. We've seen that with robotics and like bomb squads and things like that where it's being used. But there seems to be a niche, and this wasn't it, I guess.
Yeah.
And the other thing was the lease on this thing was going to cost the NYPD more for the test program than if they had just bought it.
Yeah, it was like $94,000 or something.
Yeah, and I think
that.
it's like
Yeah.
$70,000 to buy it.
Yeah.
So that also the people of New York were not pleased about, which I can see why.
Yeah.
That sales guy needs a raise. That's
Right.
I mean, how do you negotiate that one?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you get the lease, it's technically a better deal. You pay a little more up front, but you're protecting yourself. No, I see. This just, it seems like something that really got polarized, and it could have, like I said, fit a really good niche and really helped keep law enforcement officials out of danger in certain situations. This isn't, it's not a patrol dog. Don't send this out into parks.
Yeah.
It's going to freak
Yeah,
people
I mean,
out
you
enough.
kind of wonder if they're like, well, let's test it. Can it do this? Can it do this? And then just in that testing program, not thinking it through how people were going to perceive that,
Yeah.
just doomed the entire thing.
I'm interested to know because some of these are in in manufacturing facilities now. Like I know it's at Ford. It'd be interesting to hear for some people that work at Ford. Just what is it like when all of a sudden the robot dog comes trotting by, scanning tags for maintenance? I don't know.
Yeah. Ford was using it actually because they had a really, really old plant, and it would traverse the plant and scan the areas because they didn't have accurate blueprints for how many like redesigns had been done over the years. That's like a very cool application for this. Not a dog.
Yeah.
Don't give it a name like Spot. I mean,
I didn't give him the name. That's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's not my fault that I think it's a dog.
Right. Well, I mean, we've seen so many positive uses for robotic pets and dogs, particularly with the elderly or, special needs people and children, that there is a great potential and market for it. It's just Boston Dynamics has a history of making them great and really unnerving.
Yeah, I mean, I think the environment definitely plays a part, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to argue the fact that it can keep law enforcement safer. But if it stresses out the public, that kind of defeats the purpose. So.
No, I agree. Anyway, Jeff, what do you got? Can you beat Spot? Can you beat Spot?
Can anybody?
Uh,
Yeah.
do you discipline it with a rolled up paper?
No.
Okay.
You
Remember, it's not real.
Yeah,
Remember?
you void
You
the
keep
warranty.
forgetting.
You void the warranty.
Very good.
I'm always a sucker for a DARPA story. I think they do some pretty cool stuff.
DARPA.
DARPA does some cool things. And right now they're looking at developing personalized protective biosystems, which, as somebody who wore protective masks and gas masks and stuff like that in the Army, if they can make that lighter and a little more palatable, I'm all in favor. And that's what they're trying to do. Basically taking this, using some new materials, some new technology to make it lighter, make it a little bit easier to use, because ideally that'll mean more people will use it.
Yeah.
You know, we just had enough trouble with people putting a piece of cloth over their face. So who knows where it'll go. But I'm always a sucker for these. I think DARPA is one of those few government agencies that actually does a lot of really cool stuff. And to be able to learn about it early on is even cooler. They work with a lot of private technology companies too.
Right. And if there's ever a time that PPE needed a rebranding to PPB, this is, the people are ready for it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's a great number of people that never want to hear about PPE again.
It's here to stay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, Jeff, to that end, I picked a DARPA story this week too, because I covered it and I just couldn't believe it didn't blow up. The story, implants could end jet lag and food poisoning, was admittedly my problem, because I didn't say, hey, you're going to have an implant that can fix your hangover eventually. But there's more.
Should have said hangover.
Yep. So in April 2020, DARPA introduced the Advanced Acclimation and Protection Tool for Environmental Readiness Program, or ADAPTER. The ADAPTER program aims to create new systems that give soldiers control over their bodies. Like any human, soldiers suffer from jet lag and food poisoning, which makes them less effective on critical missions. So the plan is to create engineered cells and biochemicals, integrate those into an implant that soldiers can then kind of tap into via their device as needed. So if a soldier's sleep schedule is off, he or she can activate therapies that either eliminate the illness or regulate disrupted circadian rhythms. And this week it was really cool because DARPA announced 3 research partners working on it, Northwestern, Stanford, and MIT. And I just think that is cool. I know that it's nobody wants a device, an in-body device that will cure their ailments, but I just think,
I don't think it's the in-body device. I think it's more the systems that it is sort of messing with.
Oh, yeah.
Would you want to be the guy who tries this out first?
Well, that was my first reaction too, was like, if you look at any commercial for pharmaceutical products and medical products, like the laundry list of side effects, like, are you sure this is not going to give you a hangover? Like,
right?
Like it's going to,
I feel terrible. It might be the metal I installed into my stomach, but
yeah, like something like jet lag. That's just like, it's not great. Obviously some people in the military applications, they need to be super, super alert. So I get that, but like, is it a big enough problem that we have to like put injectables into our bodies?
Well, first of all, it's, DARPA is way on the early edges of the technology.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think the whole idea is that start working on it now, get it into an animal in phase 2, see if it does work, see if it is worth it. And I think that they say things like jet lag and food poisoning to get people's attention.
Sure.
But I think that the idea of basically having your own nest inside you that kind of helps keep you in better shape is kind of cool.
Do you think there's the potential for this to just be like abused at the highest level?
Can you hack? Can you hack it? Because you can hack everything else apparently. So
no, that was I kind of mentioned that.
Let's turn up David's temperature.
No, just like all of a sudden hit the melatonin, just like draw. No, it's I think it is a cool technology. I talked a little bit about it last week or a couple of weeks ago about the possibilities with in-body direct drug delivery. I think it could be something cool like that because it's not too different from like an automatic insulin pump.
Yeah.
So,
but
in concept,
but it is.
Yeah, those are.
I think it's a super cool idea, and to be able to help somebody with these types of things, whether it's soldiers in the field or just anybody else on day to day.
Jet lag sucks. Trade shows are coming back soon. We're going to have, maybe it's just been so long since you've had bad jet lag or food poisoning.
Jet lag, I don't know. So I'm tired every day. It's just, whatever.
Is this jet lag or just
Monday? A regular day?
Yeah. Well, very good. I think it's interesting. You remain skeptics. That's okay. We don't always have to be on the same side. Anna, what's your final thought this week?
I just wanted to let everyone know that I will be gone next week because I'm going on vacation with my family, and you will get Andy Zoll in my place, and you are going to enjoy this because he is like a young Bob Newhart.
You're setting the table.
I know.
With more hair.
Yeah.
With more hair.
No, we look for. I hope you enjoy your vacation.
Thanks.
And look forward to see how many things Andy hates in 90 minutes or 45 minutes.
So many things.
Yeah.
We should just change the name of the podcast to.
What's Andy hate this week?
Yeah, Andy's burn list or something.
Right? Zoll, implants that could end jet lag.
Stupid.
I'll leave it. Jeff, your final thought this week.
So, look, on Mondays, you always kind of like check the news cycle a little bit, just kind of see what happens. And I kind of got down this rabbit hole, and it led me to actually downloading a bunch of wonderful music from the 1980s, early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt absolutely no shame coming into the parking lot here, just blasting away some Motley Crue. It just felt really cool.
Was
Yeah.
it because Tawny Katane died that you downloaded all that stuff?
It was actually.
I knew it.
Yeah.
That was sad. That was super bummed me out.
It was sad, but like for me, it also made me think about, okay, she was the girl from the Whitesnake videos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what took me down this pathway, like downloading all this music. And so while it was tragic that she passed, like for me, it led to some good memories and stuff growing up listening to that music. I'm not going to say that Poison or Whitesnake had a lot of, huge societal messages in their music, but it made me smile and it made me feel good. And don't be afraid to pull out some of the hairband this weekend,
No, that's
Holds up.
it's music triggers such nostalgia and recognition where you're immediately where you were the first time you heard it, or when you associate a strong memory with it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's why after you have a couple of drinks and you're in the bar and you're just like, oh, who put it on? My final thought this week was just actually coming into the office, realizing that garage sales or rummage sales are coming back, and I'm not afraid to go to them. I never really was, but I can't wait to just start bartering and just talking people down from
how
$1.
excited is Carrie that you're going to be going to?
You get the items in the garage, and then they slowly make their way into the house. You don't show the entire haul at once.
She's going to get you the solo, so you can't put any stuff in there.
See, that would be a
That's
good
how
work
they
on.
sell them.
That's how I'm limited. Yeah, I can only fill the solo.
Do you have a David in your life? Is he constantly bringing home a bunch of garbage?
Right?
Wow.
Is he bringing home a bunch of very terrifying clowns? We needed another
Just for
clown
Eric.
cookie jar.
Just for Eric. And give those to Eric.
Well, I mean, Eric's, fears aside, I just love a terrifying clown. I like
See
to
if you
wake
can
up
find
and
a
see it.
Pennywise. He would love that.
Whoa. A friend sent me a Pennywise, like porcelain Pennywise that was just sitting in the bottom of a bar with like two middle fingers, like so that way you had to like see it.
That would be
Yeah.
that'd be terrible.
Oh, it's such a. But no, and also the haggling, just like 50 cents. It's just like it says $1. Oh, I can do 50 cents.
I have 2 quarters only.
Yeah, and that is the rest of my summer. Well, very good. Again, if you can make sure to please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, Anna, or David at IEN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You could also subscribe to our newsletter to make sure you get everything first. For Jeff and Anna, I'm David Manti, and this is the Today in Manufacturing podcast. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Today in Manufacturing podcast.